The Columbus, Ohio NAACP election is delayed again after a judge sided with former leader Nana Watson. She's fighting her suspension and plans to run again after being removed in January for alleged mismanagement. The Department of Education is telling states to cut DEI programs or lose key K-12 funding. With 10 days to comply, the warning is part of the Trump administration's broader effort to roll back diversity efforts. And Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is probing a Rockland County, New York car wash accused of charging Orthodox Jews triple rates. Super Four Seasons could face a $75,000 fine for alleged discrimination tied to Passover cleanings. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's now time for Let's Elevate, the Arnie and Kerry Show with Arnie Filko and Kerry Grant.
Hello, New Orleans, and good evening on this great Thursday leading into a fun weekend.
Good
this
evening,
is Arnie
everyone.
Filko.
Good evening. This is Kerry Grant, the real Kerry Grant.
And we are back in studio tonight. Always happy to be back here and on Xavier's beautiful campus.
Yes.
And be able to talk to you.
On some of the windiest days I've ever experienced in New Orleans, Arnie.
I know.
I've never seen wind like this before.
But, boy, I was watching TV today, Kerry, and nonstop the news was tariffs and stock market.
Absolutely. If people didn't know what tariffs or how the stock market worked before, they're learning a hard lesson right now.
You know, we were saying before we came on, I mean, we have lost 10% of the stock market equity in literally 10 days here.
Yeah, and that's billions of dollars. To people have to understand that it's not a percentage, it's money. And people who own stocks, if they wanted to cash out, they wouldn't get what they thought they were going to get just 10 days ago.
I mean, at this point, I mean, you know, advice would be, I think, don't cash out. I mean, don't lose what you have right now. It's still a paper loss until somebody cashes in or out. But the reality is, I have to tell you, I think people are really worried. You know,
absolutely.
When you start dealing with people's future and you know, whether you know, people don't necessarily have to play the market, but it affects so many things. And if you have any investments in, you know, annuities or just anything, you know, what's happening around the globe right now has a direct impact on you. And
yes.
You know, this is a big risk, I got to tell you, for the president. I don't quite understand it. I don't agree with it.
No.
I think this is foolish, but he's all in at this point and doesn't seem to be backing out.
It's all on him. He's triple, quadrupled down. And as you said, Arnie, what people have to understand is if you're in a retirement system and some things that deal with the government programs that are being cut as well, but some of their issues are things that are generated by bonds and that type of thing. Those things being hurt cause pain that you will feel as an individual. I mean, if your retirement system starts to feel some real pain with this loss in the stock market, it could really affect you.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you tonight. We're going to cover a number of topics, 504-582-9422. I think we have a caller. Let me see if our producer is gone for a second. Let me see if I can do this without losing. Hold on a sec. Hello there. Who do we have tonight?
Hello?
This is Kim. How you doing? How y'all doing?
Hey, Kim. How you doing?
All right. Hi.
Hey, Mr. Philco, I want to tell you, I know you from a long ways back. I coached your son basketball at Ben Franklin High School.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. How's it doing?
Man, you had the patience of a saint coaching my kid, but thank you for doing that. Those were some great years, and you know Ben Franklin didn't win a whole lot of games relative to some of the other schools, but we had great coaching and a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, but I went on to coach other teams and won a couple of district championships, so it was a learning experience for everybody. But I do commend you because as busy as you were at the time, you made time to come to all the games, and I wish more parents would put some time in with their kids like you did.
Well, thank you. That was a special time, and you're right.
Yeah.
It's so important that parents come out and watch the kids and support them, and no matter what they're doing in life. I think that's one of the most important things you could do.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you about I don't have a topic for today, but I want to talk about y'all made a comment yesterday that really made me almost get in an accident. I've been a Saint season ticket holder for 25 plus years. I love the Dome. I hope they keep the Dome up. Don't ever tear it down.
Yeah.
But once somebody, I think it was Kerry, made a comment about the food being so delicious. I just want to let you know the food in the Dome is absolutely horrible. I'm sorry. I have to disagree. Horrible and overpriced.
I want to know what you're getting because I don't want to go to that food stand.
Well, I've tried everything from the nachos to the jambalaya to the pulled pork sandwiches, and I'm like, now what I do now is before I go to the game, I make sure I get full as a tick, and that way I won't have to eat anything, you know?
You know, the problem with a pro team in New Orleans is that we have such incredible food here. We were going to talk about it tonight. Michelin is actually going to start rating New Orleans restaurants for the first time. We have such incredible food here in this city that when you go to a sporting event,
in comparison,
it's like the expectations are so high that you know nothing could compare with it. But I didn't chastise my co-host last night, but I spent a lot of years in that Dome, and it's improved. But when I was there, it was really crappy. I got to tell you.
But let me say this: I've been to a lot of stadiums around the country, and it's way better than that.
It's better than some. It is better than some.
But I understand your point.
Other cities, what they do, I know in Atlanta, they have. I don't know if we can do that here, man, but they have like vendors. Like, let's say, I'm trying to think of a popular restaurant. Let's pick on one. What they do is in Atlanta, they're famous for, let's say, what those hot dogs are Varsity.
Yeah.
You know,
so they have a varsity inside the state.
Varsity is in the Dome.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep. That's the way.
So
That's
not a bad idea, actually.
Maybe we can get some of them vendors that's like a Chick-fil-A or whatever. I'm not a big fan, but maybe they could do that because, oh Lord, man.
Hey, we need those Ben Franklin hot dogs. Those weren't too bad, you know.
Yeah,
you probably never got to eat them as a coach, but
you know what those was at Ben Franklin? I make sure I bought Hebrew National.
There you go, the best. Hey, thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. Call again.
Thank you.
Y'all got a great show. Thank you, man.
Thank you. You take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. Always good to hear
know
from
people are
one
listening.
of the coaches.
Yeah.
You know,
listening and paying attention.
I had two boys that played basketball in the varsity at Ben Franklin, and they played other sports. But you remember A.L. Davis? You remember Colonel Davis was always at our games.
Okay.
Eddie Compass, you know Eddie.
Yeah, I know Eddie.
Eddie Compass's daughter played volleyball with our kids. So, you know, we had a whole kind of New Orleans political element in the stands. And, you know, I remember, I got to tell you, I remember some of the games were so much fun. And some of the games, I remember Carver came one year over to Franklin to play. And in the warm-ups, literally every player in the layup line was dunking the ball, and it was like,
you knew it was going to be a rough
we
night.
were in deep trouble. I think we gave up 40 in the first half or something.
One thing he said that I just want to reiterate, he's very right about this, and I see it in a different light now too, and I'm sure you do, Arnie. Parents need to be involved in those extracurriculars with their kids, no matter what you're doing. We worked in jobs that took a lot of time, but I tried to do as much as I could with my kids when they played in different sports and everything, and tried to make as many games as you possibly can, because that time goes by so fast. And the camaraderie of the parents is something that I always enjoyed, that you got to hang out with people and kind of laugh about, you know, sometimes your kids were good, sometimes your kids weren't. But it all was fun, and it meant a lot to kids. And I just think that people in New Orleans love sports, and I think they do that. But I think people need to understand it goes by really fast.
Yeah, and I think the point you made is really well said. Is look, everybody has busy lives and jobs and, you know, other pressures on their life, but the years of your kids just go so fast. I mean, it's
absolutely.
You know, I went through it twice because, as you know, my wife and I adopted. Two daughters after our three kids had gone through high school and college. So we lived it twice. And, you know, I'm like ready for a third time, you know, because you can never get those. Those are special times.
Absolutely.
And special years.
And the kids, there's always that moment, and I've seen it on TV too, with people with their kids, where the kid sees you, you know, and they see you in the audience and they kind of look at you and you look at them, and no matter what's going on, that's a really special moment for a parent.
The pride of that child knowing that your parents are there.
It's there,
and it's something you can't replace. I told Carrie before we came on that I was going to vent a little bit about a few things. We are going to vent about some city things in a minute here. But people know I talk a lot about foreign policy and especially Ukraine. I got to vent for a minute here. The Russian envoy was in Washington today meeting with Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff. Mm-hmm. I am just sick and listen to this guy. The guy comes on, the Russian envoy comes on and says, well, we're making some progress. We agreed to a temporary ceasefire. We won't attack infrastructure, energy infrastructure. And, but we got to make sure that we have our security needs are met. And I'm thinking to myself, this is evil, okay? I mean, number one, Russia started this war. They viciously attacked another country. Number two, if they want a ceasefire, which Trump wants, Ukraine wants, I want, then do a ceasefire, okay? Because I know people in the country right now, and every night and every day, people are dying from Russian missiles and bombs. This is just, Trump is being played. He's being made to look like a fool by Putin. Putin is a war criminal. He's evil. He doesn't like or want the United States to be who we are.
Right.
And we are playing
into his hands.
Games with this guy. You know what? What we should be saying to the envoy is, Mr. Envoy, welcome to Washington, D.C. Here's the deal. You got 24 hours to have a full ceasefire so that we can start to negotiate terms. Right. If you don't agree to a full ceasefire without conditions, here's what's going to happen to you. You are going to have sanctions put on you like you have never seen before, and we are going to supply the Ukrainians with 10 times what we were providing before. Yeah. So we're giving you time, just like he did. This is what Trump basically said to Iran last week. He said, Iran, you either can do a peace deal with us or we're going to be bombing you. Okay? Yeah. And again, we could talk, that's a separate issue, but we're toe dancing and playing games right now with an enemy that doesn't respect anything other than power. And it's sickened to me because it really is human life that's being affected by this. And so I'm just hoping that the rest of our leadership, the people in Congress, the Republicans especially, they will wake up. I'm hoping the administration wakes up. I want to see Marco Rubio. I want to see Waltz. I want to see the people involved in this area understand that at some point, enough talking is enough. Either Russia wants peace and ceasefire or it doesn't. If it doesn't, we go in one direction. And if they do want it, Ukraine, America is all ears, and we're ready to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, like you said, Arnie, of a type of ceasefire or a ceasefire that includes we get to keep this land. That's not a ceasefire. A ceasefire is stop fighting completely. Don't fight, not blow up these things, but I'll blow up those things, that type of thing. And keep the upper hand, and we're basically not doing anything on this thing. It's just dragging on. And every day that it drags on, it's just much worse. Yeah, it's much worse.
Look, a ceasefire and infrastructure is great. We're not attacking the nuclear plants. That's important. Yeah. But we not attacking nuclear plants and redirecting your missiles to a Ukrainian school or Ukrainian hospital, that's not a ceasefire. No. I mean, that's simply evil, to be honest. And I'm just saying, President Trump, wake up. You claim you're a strong man. You want to be a strong man. You are being played here, okay? You have the power to stop this thing. Exercise that power.
And the other part that we talked about this last night on these economic issues, but, Congressman, and as you said, you made a great mention of Marco Rubio. It's like, look, I know that this guy's standing over you on a lot of issues or whatever. This is one place where you can show some leadership. This is the time to step up. This is that profile and courage we're talking about, because you can make a difference and you can turn a few heads that would make a difference with this. As you said, Trump wants to be a strong man. He wants to appear a certain way. Show him how to appear that way. This is one issue where we all can agree. We don't care who he is on a whole lot of issues, but on stuff like this, we all think if you did the right thing, we'd all be behind.
Yeah, and look.
And that's really true.
And in Louisiana, come on, Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
Come on, Senator Cassidy. I know where you guys are. You have been pro-Ukraine.
Right.
At some point, and if nothing else, I hope the election returns the last week
Showed you that.
tell
right.
you that you can't be in lockstep on every issue with the administration. If you feel differently, you were independently elected to represent the state of Louisiana and its people and the American people. Do your job.
Yes.
So that's my soapbox to start.
And that's a good one to
We
stand
have more.
on.
We
but,
have
but
much
that's a good
more.
one to stand on.
We
That's
have
a
much
good one to
more.
stand.
I want to turn the attention before we go to break to some of the stuff happening locally. We've talked a lot about this, but you kind of predicted this last night. I think maybe you had seen
I
maybe
saw
some
a little
news. Yeah.
something.
What the
but
topic
it's not surprising.
the topic we're talking about again is the school board issue and the settlement with the city of New Orleans.
Right.
And for people that may not be following it, there was a $90 million settlement agreement reached a couple months ago. We thought this was resolved. City would pay that money, $20 million up front and $70 million over time to the school system. That would help them bridge the deficit
Right.
that they had, which would help kids. All of a sudden, Mayor Cantrell said, no, there's no agreement. I never agreed to it, even though her chief administrative officer had been at the press conference announcing it.
Yeah.
They went to court on this. The council sided with the school board.
Right.
They went to court on this. The district court judge here sided with the mayor and said no settlement, no binding settlement. But mayor, $10 million of that is owed to the school board. And then just a couple of days ago, the council filed an ordinance that'll be heard in April
Right.
to add another $10 million, $20 million in total to be able to pay to the school board. Well, I guess I was naively of the belief that at least the first $10 million, the
Right.
mayor, of course, is going to relent to that, have that paid because the judge ordered
that to
paid.
be paid. Right. Within so
Lo-
many days, too.
Lo and behold, yesterday the mayor went to court again and has filed papers to get out of even that first $10 million. And I said last night, I headed this by said, Mayor, second chance. This is a second chance. Well, the mayor's answered the second chance. She's basically put her middle finger up and said, I'm not paying a penny to the school board. And Carrie, I don't understand this. I mean, I really don't. You got 6 months to go in office. Well, maybe a little bit more than that, until the beginning of the year. You want to go out with some positive feeling. Who are you hurting here? The kids of New Orleans.
Yeah, and the timing of it is amazing almost because the issue came up literally yesterday when you just had a new superintendent be installed.
Yeah,
I mean, basically
Dr.
be
Fulmore.
chosen by Dr. Fulmore, be chosen by the school system, and that person actually inherited a lot of this situation and has been in the forefront of trying to resolve the financial issue, coming up with a plan to make up the differences from their funds, using some of the city funds if they get them, that type of thing. And would have been a great starting point to have some negotiation with the school system about what the future is in the money, at least doing the $10 million and keeping the court off of your case because a judge just ruled on this. So now you're saying you don't like that ruling. You're going to appeal that ruling. And, overruling a judge by another judge is going to be a hard thing for a court to do because it seems like this makes sense.
Well, and the underlying case is still open.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I know judges, the appeals are part of the process and all that. But I really think it was Judge Shepard that was the district court. I mean, she kind of compromised. I mean, in her ruling.
Yeah, I thought it was very much.
She says, look, you need to pay the $10 million. You budgeted for it in 2025. I would think the judge is a little upset right now.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is within the judicial community, I know that this is not sitting well.
I'm sure it's not. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk a little bit more about it because this is a really important issue. I'd love to hear from you, 504-582-9422. Call our show. We'd love to hear from you.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
New Orleans, are you ready? A fresh voice in the city is here, bringing you the beats, the culture, and the stories that matter. From local music and food to real talk on what's happening in the streets. We've got you covered. Stay tapped in. Follow us on all platforms at WBOK 1230 for the latest updates and exclusive content. Your city, your culture, your news. Don't just hear about it, be about it. Follow WBOK 1230 now.
WBOK 1230 AM online at WBOK1230.com.
The Arnie and Carrie Show with Arnie Filko and Carrie Grant.
All right,
We're back.
And we're just, we're kind of finishing out this discussion on this school issue. And I know we've talked a lot about it, but the reason we've talked a lot about it, it's so important. I mean, if you don't take care of the kids in Orleans Parish, what are you doing as a public servant? I don't know that there's anything more important than our kids.
Right.
And, the money is needed. A settlement was reached. A compromise was reached.
Right.
If it was me, I would take the $20 million. I would, in fact, you and I were talking about this. I mean, the overall case may be a $90 million case. Go, if you're the mayor and her legal team, go to the school board and say, you know what, I'm going to give you the $20 million, but I want an overall settlement of this whole case. I want it done so that we all have certainty. $60 million, $65 million, settle it all. $20 million is part of that. I don't know if the school board would accept that, but I think they would have to consider it.
I think they'd have to consider it, and I think now what you could do if you did that was you could set up a mediation literally, and you could come to some numbers through negotiation in front of somebody who would be documenting, so we won't have that, you said it was 9, whatever, and get to a number, and that can be lived with, and it's paid out over time. It doesn't have to be $10 million a year, $5 million, $20 million a year. It can be set up in a way that it doesn't hurt to do it or whatever. And maybe if the school system could show you some of their financial issues, maybe they need more sooner and less later, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Just
maybe
there's ways of work. Well, I've been in negotiations like that, so I know how you do these things. I think the other thing I want to say is that I think what really is bothering the council is that the city has a huge fund balance right now, which is from other sources, from revenues and expenditures. I know that they say that there's going to be tight revenues, that there's always tight revenues in New Orleans in the future, but there is money available to do this. And I think that's what's really bothering the council more than anything else is we're sitting on this huge fund balance, and it's great to have a fund balance. It's great for the bond rating people, but this number would not hurt that over $100 million that they have in fund balance in terms of what percentages is of the general fund.
Well, you're absolutely right.
I mean, that's what the bond raters look for is 10% of your general fund. Trust me, it's more than 10% of the general fund.
Well, I think the council, I think got very frustrated with the revenue director who came out and said, we're hurting as a city. And I mean, the reality is I don't think we're hurting as a city. And I think the council knows that.
Right.
I mean, they have a finance committee meeting every month. They know exactly where the numbers are. Revenue estimating conference will tell you what the revenues are. I think it was a fraud. I mean, to come out and use that as an excuse to get out of the agreement.
In a very short while, Arnie, as you know, because you've been through this before, like you said, there will be a revenue estimating conference, but there'll also be economic reports about the Super Bowl in the first quarter of the year, and they're going to be huge numbers. There's going to be a real plus on that card for those events. We all know they were very successful. A lot of money was brought into the city. it was over the idea what was thought to going to be generated because there was more people here, there was more press here. 6,000 press members did not spend money.
Right.
So when those numbers come out and show that you have a bit of a cushion, it's going to be even harder to say I'm broke.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's not good for the city to be fighting on everything. I mean, the number of lawsuits the mayor is involved in right now. I mean, you have this one with the school system.
Yes.
You have the garbage contracts.
Right.
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 You have the young lady that took the pictures.
Yes.
That there was a denial of a restraining order. The
Right.
mayor lost that one. She's
Yes.
appealing that.
Yes.
We're going to talk about one in a minute with civil service.
Yes.
I mean, while all of this is going on, the citizenry is fatigued. Okay.
Yes.
They simply want city services to be provided. You know, they want a well-functioning city. They don't want the mayor and the council arguing about whether you could have alcohol when you go on a road trip,
Right,
okay?
right.
Or whether you could even
Yeah,
go on the
go on a
road
road
trip,
trip, right.
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, these are crazy things that, and again, I know I side a little bit with the council here because I think they are trying to exercise, you know, the rights that they have under the city charter with a very difficult mayor, but this is not what the people want.
No.
And I think you're going to see this fall, you're going to see huge turnout because the people want to make sure that we get it right this time with our next mayor and our next council.
And from a practical point of view, as a person running for office or whatever, and all the people have to run for office, people have to remember, even if people, unless you're unopposed, all the council members are going to have to be on the ballot pretty much, except for the ones who are term limited, but other people are running for those jobs. So there's going to be a mayor, new council, everything like that. But the thing about that is these issues not being resolved means those people have to answer for those issues and they have to face them as soon as they get into office or get reelected.
Yeah.
And some of these are just, like you said, lingering things that don't even need to be lingering at this point that they'll have to deal with. And as I say, every time we talk about this, any city money that's being spent on lawsuits in these cases is money that's being wasted, folks. I mean, I'm just telling you, lawyers and everybody's using outside counsel for these city things, and those people are not going in for less than a few $100 to $1,000 an hour, and those hours mount up.
Yeah.
And that's costing you money that could go towards Nord uniforms
Anything,
or whatever.
anything.
You can name anything you want that those monies could be used for.
I mean, look, there's good lawsuits and bad law. I mean, I read this morning in the papers front headlines about, you know, a major lawsuit in Plaquemines Parish.
Yeah.
That all of the coastal parishes have filed against the oil and gas companies.
Sure.
You know, for endangering lives over the year.
Right.
That's a good lawsuit.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
that's a
right,
lawsuit
because
if
it's
the plaintiffs prevail.
And it's truly
will bring
about
big dollars.
It's truly about big dollars, and it's about their earning ability and their economic life and their life of their citizens in their parishes, because sometimes those things have hurt fishing industry and shrimping and those type of things. That's what those people live off of. So yeah, those things, when you do that, you're doing it for a cause.
Yeah.
You know, and
So I have a great solution. Our Ben Franklin coach gave me this idea. We're going to bring Council President Morrell and Mayor Cantrell to the Superdome. We're going to have a hot dog eating contest, and whoever wins prevails on the school board issue. How's that?
I don't want to take the bets on that one. That's a FanDuel thing nobody can figure out.
All right, now I got to do one last one here, city and litigation and the mayor, because it was a little bit public last week.
Yeah.
But it kind of fell under the radar a little bit. If people will remember going back a month or two, there was a big issue with NOPD promotions. And they ended up having to redo some of the process.
Right.
The NOPD police chief kind of redid it. The mayor wanted it redone. And there was, you know, a lot of questions. What was behind all of this? Okay.
Right.
And you and I talked about it, Kerry. One of the theories, and I can't say it was proven, it was just, it's been out there, was that the two individuals that were being promoted, that the reason the process was stopped is because they had been investigating the Jeffrey Vappy issue with the mayor.
Yes.
And it was presumed that there was some punishment from the mayor against these individuals because of that.
Right.
Again, you and I don't have the full facts. We're not the adjudicators of this, but the police unions filed litigation.
Yes.
And it went before the Civil Service Commission of the city of New Orleans. And there were some really interesting things that occurred last week with that Civil Service Commission. Number one, and you know this because you've been part of this, normally when civil service hearings are held, I mean, these are public. There's notice of meetings.
Absolutely.
People can
There's
attend.
definitely notice of meetings.
They can watch.
Yeah, yes.
I guess the only thing you can't do is record it, it said.
Yes.
But the rest of it is pretty public.
Yeah.
Well,
the press is usually there if it's some issue like this.
So all of this basically was done under cover of night.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about this. It wasn't public the way it's supposed to be. But I thought the thing that was most interesting was Mayor Cantrell exercised her right to the Fifth Amendment, which she has a right to do.
Yes.
Okay, I don't deny she has the right to do in a proceeding like this. I guess as I understand the law from my law school days, in a criminal proceeding you can't use that against somebody. In a civil proceeding you can.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm just wondering, as an average person out there, in a civil service hearing, talking about the integrity of the process of promoting NOPD people, why would you take the Fifth Amendment?
Well,
what are you hiding with the Fifth Amendment?
Yeah, I mean, I told you, just from a historical point of view, been involved in a lot of things in city government, and first off, to have a hearing that is closed like that is very unusual to begin with. The second part of it that is even more unusual to me is to have a mayor show up at a hearing with a personal lawyer. I don't think I've ever seen that in all the years I've been dealing with anything. At most, they would come there with the city attorney about any kind of issue like this. I mean, it's a city issue. And to take the Fifth Amendment, I would think that, and I go back pretty far, but I would think anybody would have to explain to me the last mayor that took the Fifth Amendment on any testimony they did in any court, any tribunal, anything.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
I never heard about it. And again, I to give give the mayor the benefit of justice for a minute. There are other investigations allegedly out there, and maybe it's done because of the other stuff. Yeah. But on this particular issue, really the issue was the viability, integrity of the police promotion process. And unless you're hiding, I mean, unless the theory is true that you, the mayor, basically told the chief, change the process because I don't want these two officers rewarded because of the investigation they did. Now, if that's the case, maybe they're trying to hide that. Okay. Yeah. But it's just, again, it goes to the point that I got to tell you, our community is just tired, okay?
Yes.
And we're fatigued with stuff like this. And you're right, Kerry. I'm thinking back to my days with Mayor Nagin, who obviously had some criminal.
Yes.
I don't remember the Fifth Amendment. I don't remember.
No.
We had a council member, with some trouble. I don't remember that. So this is kind of precedent setting. And again, it's flown a little bit under the radar. It's not the hugest of stories. But somebody should be asking the question, well, why would you exercise that right?
Yeah, I think what you're saying from a citizen point of view and from other points of view, people have had enough of all of these kind of wild-eyed things that are going on. And I think this is just one of those things that it almost begs more questions, Arnie, than it answers.
Yes.
It just doing it this way, it causes a lot more grief in a lot of people's minds, and it just makes people very upset, even more so than with
thing it does carry
underlying issue.
At a time when, and the chief admits this, we made a lot of progress in crime prevention, but the one area we're still hurting on is the number of NOPD officers.
Yes.
I mean, we're somewhere between 850 and 890 right now, and we got to elevate that number.
Yeah.
Having a process of promotion that has any taint to it is something that really hurts the morale of the current force, hurts us with recruiting in the future. I mean, Mayor, come and explain what's going on here. I think the public is in the dark. It leads to people like you and I speculating Okay, which I don't want to do. I want to know facts, not speculation, but just come and tell the story.
Well, what it makes me wonder about too is what's the next step? Because, like you said, I mean, what is the ultimate outcome of all this? I mean, is this investigation over? Is this hearing over? I mean, the outcome was the people ended up getting the promotions, but like, what is the outcome of this piece?
Right.
And I don't know if we're going back to another hearing or going to court or whatever. It just, and that leaves people in a lot of doubt.
It does. It does. All right. Well, let's take one more thing on politics, and then we're going to change a little bit. You and I have talked about it. Of all the races coming up this fall, maybe the most interesting one is the sheriff's race.
Absolutely.
And we have yet another person, right? That has thrown his hat in the ring.
Yes.
Former Orleans Parish Criminal District Court Judge Julian Parker Jr.
Yes.
Emerged from a retirement and announced his run for Orleans Parish Sheriff, growing the number of candidates right now to at least three.
We
have the incumbent Susan Hudson.
You still have time for more.
Yes, we have Michelle Woodfork.
Right.
We have Judge Parker, and there's a lot of speculation about a former sheriff.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
And we have Ed Shorty. Is that right?
Yes.
So actually, it's more. It's four kind of declared.
4 declared candidates, and as always, people out in the bushes. You never know.
So this is going to be a fascinating race. I don't know if I know Judge Parker.
I know Judge Parker.
You do.
I know Judge Parker.
But he's been on the bench for quite a while.
Good judge, a good person. I'm always surprised at kind of when people decide to run for things. I see him as more as a jurist, and I don't know about the whole sheriff's office thing, but I mean, I'm sure he is capable of doing the job. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I always think of judicial people as more in the judicial realm, than that type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the reason he articulated running is he's very upset with the condition of the jail.
I could see
and
that.
The treatment of prisoners, and so I think it's going to be very interesting. And again, Judge is 70 years old. In these times, that's not old. He certainly has many years to give, and we wish him and all the candidates well. That is really going to be an interesting race.
Yeah,
I have to tell you.
I think, like you said, I mean, I think there's some issues there about management, leadership, and a whole lot of things that are going to be very, very interesting. Even as the mayor's office race is going to be interesting, but this one has a lot more things that really touch some parts of society that get left out. I think this is going to be a real focus on the sheriff's office and what the sheriff's office does and how things have been handled and how people are being treated in the jail system.
Yeah,
I mean, I think this is going to put a real focus and a light on that because these are some pretty heavyweight candidates.
Yeah, very heavyweight. And it's interesting because, look, I think Michelle Woodfork left the role as interim superintendent when she didn't get the full-time job, but she left with a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
Of people. Crime was coming down.
Absolutely.
A lot of people give her a lot of credit for that.
Yes.
And I think Sheriff Hudson, I think the start was difficult. I think she is really elevated in the latter term here in terms of the work that she's doing. And so and we have other candidates now entering the race and more coming down the pike probably. Yeah. I think it's going to be an absolutely fascinating race. I think the at-large race in the council equally interesting.
Yes.
Some of the candidates are I know one that's about to announce next week. That's going to be very formidable. We have one already announced with Representative Boyd, and there's more coming. I know.
Absolutely. Yes.
That'll be, look, the council at large race is really, really important here as we go into the future.
Well, one thing people have to understand is that we've had some early entries into races, and we've started a lot earlier this kind of election cycle, but we're starting to get, it's always past Mardi Gras. We always get into who's going to really start putting their name in the hat. Yeah. And I think there's a lot more people looking at that hat.
They say a lot of these races start after Labor Day. Yeah. No more.
No.
It starts after Mardi Gras now.
It'll be definitely probably by May.
We got to call her Pop Jones. Pop, how are you?
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Very good. Good evening.
Look like y'all digging up all the dirt on them candidates, huh?
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
The next best thing about running for office is not running for office and being able to talk about it on radio.
Yeah, you bring it up. You put the mayor on the spot and everything, man. I see y'all. Take out y'all starring.
Say it again, Pop.
That's an old slang. When we was kids, and the guys would say, "You getting they would get a girl tonight, a pretty girl and stuff." It was like a baseball term. Say, take out, you starring.
Well,
I'm listening at y'all.
No, you know,
we're digging up all the dirt.
I know. Well, I know it sounds at times like we're beating up on Mayor Cantrell. We're really not. I think what Carrie and I are saying, what we're saying more than anything is all of these lawsuits, all of these fights, the people just don't want it anymore. They want a city that works. And I think people are just tired of it. And I think that's the bigger point that we're trying to make to all of this.
Yeah, I didn't know she had pleaded the fifth, though.
Yeah, she did.
That was news to me,
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting because, look, pleading the fifth in a proceeding is a pretty big deal. I mean, you don't do that lightly.
What you saying? You guilty?
And the thing that I want to say about it is from an internal point of view, people working in city government like we did for a long time, that makes it harder for you to work because there's so much tension going on inside the building, and there's a lot of things that are not clear at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I think that creates a lot of issues.
Hey, Pop, let me ask you a question. I wanted to ask you this. We have a new superintendent now, Dr. Fulmore. What do you think, and what's your vision of public education going forward?
Well, I tell you, it's a little confusing to me, Warren, because I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to Dr. Wise talking about what's going on that school board and stuff, and how they going about picking the people. It just seems a little messy. I don't know. I can't really. It's hard for me to comment on just what's going on. We had this. How long did this superintendent stay here?
2 years, about 2 years.
2 years, yeah. And you didn't hear a whole lot from her.
Yeah, it was pretty. It
was
pretty quiet.
Yeah, like she was kind of quiet, like and stuff.
Well, they did. The superintendent and the school board have some big issues right now. I mean, they got the financial issues they got to deal with.
Yeah, a lot of money. I hear about that.
They do. They gotta really address the issue of enrollment, which continues to go down in our parish.
Yes.
And then they got to talk and eventually resolve the issue of charter versus district-run schools. I mean, those three issues are huge issues, for the new leader. So it'll be interesting to watch her leadership style. And it was good that we got a full-time superintendent because we've had an interim now for a while.
Right.
But these are really big issues going forward.
Well, didn't Dr. Wise? Did she run for that position at one time? I was trying to understand.
Yeah, she was a candidate, I think, the last 2 times for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They narrowed it. They narrowed it down to 2 candidates at the end, and it was the principal from Sophie B. Wright and Dr. Fulmore. And then yesterday, Dr. Fulmore was selected by the board.
She pulled more cover off them than y'all.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say it again.
She pulling more cover off of them, the school board and all of them.
Yeah, yes.
Where the money at?
Yes, indeed. Pop, we got to run to a commercial. Thank you for calling, and have a great weekend.
All right. Yeah, okay, good.
All right, talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, we will be back in just a minute.
I am attorney Carl Bernard. As a citizen of this great nation, you have certain inalienable rights.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday is Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to
all day long.
Hello, friend. Tavis Smiley here with a special announcement. You can catch my show at a new time. Weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Same great topics, same great guests, same great conversations, just a little earlier in the day. It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. only on WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about.
That's right. It's party time each and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on WBOK. It's the Throwback Throwdown with DJ Wick as he brings you the best in old school from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2Ks. Plus, the party goes to another level at 9 p.m. with the Throwback Throwdown Party Mix to round out the night. It's the Throwback Throwdown Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
From the East Bank to the West Bank, WBOK is what New Orleans is talking about. WBOK, 1230 a.m.
The Arnie and Carrie Show with Arnie Philco and Carrie Grant.
All right, we are back. 504-582-9422. We've got about 10 minutes to go tonight. Going to turn our attention a little bit to Tulane University. I think everybody has been following over the last couple weeks a lot of threats made by the federal administration against universities, Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, and here at Tulane as well. And one of the things that we know that the new administration has done is has taken a position that DEI programs should be eliminated.
Yeah.
And if you don't eliminate them, you are going to lose federal funding.
Right.
I mean, it's basically a direct threat that's been made. And in Tulane's case, they have made the decision to shutter two offices. One is the Office of Gender and Sexual Diversity, which is a longtime resource for LGBTQ plus students, and also the Office of Multicultural Affairs, which house the Black Student Union and other student groups. And they have kind of merged those into a new office called the Office of Academic Excellence and Opportunity. But really, when you boil it down, it was, we can't afford to lose the federal funds.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to do something. We don't want to be the next Columbia.
Right.
That lost quite a bit of money.
Right.
And Tulane made the decision to close these offices. And I just think it's kind of sad. I mean,
really is.
I mean, there are situations that I do agree with where the federal government needs to take a role, and I say this very openly. I mean, when there are student protests and one group of people feels that their lives are endangered or they can't go to classroom, that's not right, and that policy has to change. But
this is not that.
That's not this.
Yeah.
I mean, these two offices were designed to basically help minority students.
Yes.
Either from the LGBTQ plus community or the African American community, have more opportunities, have a better chance for success in their education.
To put their issues forward to the administration about things that will make their lives more protected and more comfortable. Yes. I mean, it's the same thing as what happened with the Palestinian and Jewish student issues. I mean, it's very, very similar to that. And those offices being merged or changed or whatever because of the threats. The first problem that I have is the idea of threatening people, because you want to be like extortionists to say, you're going to think the way that I want you to think, or I won't give you this money. And that's just sad. That's not the American ideal at all.
No, and it's not the idea of higher education.
Not at all.
The idea of higher education is for a diverse group of people to go to a university or a junior college, whatever it may be, learn about each other, understand each other's history and culture, and come out of it better as human beings because of that. And I just think this sends such a wrong message. You know, Kerry, there's a competing station in New Orleans. I heard this today.
Yeah.
This was sickening. It was basically an ad that said, "Do you know what critical race theory is?" and then it went on to say, "Imagine a white baby coming into this world and a black baby coming into this world, and that the white baby is told immediately, you are an oppressor, and you've done wrong." And
wow.
And the black baby, the ad said, "You will never succeed because of the color of your skin." And I listened to it. It was the most ugly ad.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that help anything? I mean, what?
No.
Even the message is
It's
delivered
right.
is so divisive and hateful. It's just, I don't understand it.
Look, the times that we're stronger, and I mean, this is not to sound, too flowery, rosy, or whatever. The times we're stronger in this country is when we're all working together and realizing that everybody can contribute and everybody's a part of this thing. To say other people have legs up because of race, gender, whatever, and other people don't, is just ludicrous. The whole thing that is really sad about the whole trying to switch on what DEI stands for is literally the opposite of DEI is uniformity, inequality, and exclusion is what you're talking about. So that seems to be okay, but we can't have anybody be any different or anything like that. And they're getting a leg up because they're different. Trust me, the black students and ones in my family who went to Tulane are working just as hard as the white students. The curriculum is not easier for the black students or anything. I mean, it's all the same. These offices, like you said, in most of these schools are all about just making sure that those students' issues don't get lost, that those students don't get abused, don't get left behind or whatever. And there's some serious issues about safety as well that I think people keep losing that in all this. And when you make these people into pariahs, that causes problems. That causes very dangerous problems, as you know, Arnie. I mean, if somebody said something about a Jewish student, we wouldn't want that person to be hurt either. I mean, that's not what we're trying to do.
Right. And I'm reading from the webpage. This is the webpage of the former offices that they eliminated. This is what it says they aim to do. Quote, strengthening and enhance diversity at Tulane by providing students of color and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and allied students with advocacy services, mentoring, personal support, and cultural, social, and academic program. What is wrong with that? I mean, that seems exactly my college experience is interacting with people that were different than I was.
And the sad part about it is, I mean, in this country, we have a lot of mental health issues, too, that are driven from those types of things. And, some of these things are literally places that are life-saving places that, a person can actually talk some of their problems through and actually not harm themselves. There's all of those pieces of this too, which is just sad to say, we don't want any of this. We just want to, and we want to claim that it's all because, they're getting a leg up that the other person is not getting a leg up, and which is truly not the case.
And I feel I have some empathy for the university presidents because they're put in a no-win situation. I mean, you can't afford to lose the kind of dollars we're talking about, because that'll hurt your university.
Yeah, and you will lose programs. You'll lose professors. People lose their jobs. You lose all kinds of things. And particularly for research facilities that are like Tulane, you will have a real problem. I mean, that creates with these universities. What people have to understand is a lot of research like this going on here at Xavier. They're doing research from NIH grants that are about breast cancer in all women, not just black women, they're making some real strides in how people get treated, and they're showing the results. You take that away, then that hurts people down the road.
I mean, sometimes we think of universities just the undergraduate at, over in Uptown, but you're right. I mean,
there's researchers everywhere.
You have clinical trials. You have all kinds of things happening under the umbrella of Tulane. So, well, This has been a good show, Kerry. We need
Yes.
to end it on some light notes here. Weekend coming up, Final Four.
Yes.
Who's your winner? Who are you predicting?
I'm predicting Florida.
Florida.
I'm
all right.
staying in SEC.
And I got the Auburn Tigers. I'm cheering for Bruce Pearl. It's time for him to win a national championship. But, man, we got some great things in New Orleans this weekend. There are so many festivals. And next weekend is French Quarter Fest,
Yes.
which I think is the best of all of them.
Absolutely.
And then 2 weeks later, we have Jazz Fest. So, man, New Orleans is so much fun. Listen, everybody, have a wonderful
great weekend.
and safe weekend. Enjoy. Be safe out there. And Kerry and I will be back with you next Tuesday trying to elevate the conversation. Good night, everybody.
Good night.